No, there's got to be better ways. Still looking for Jennifer.
She's right there. She's at the back of the room. She just went out.
Okay.
I used to wear dance coats, and I found myself going like this in them. Well, I only wear these when I do something like this. Now I just retired from something, so most of the time I'm in these ones. Okay. The key to these, you have to have thick socks on. Where did you teach? I taught in the Boston area at Milton Academy. Oh, okay.
How are you? Bill.
Minute or two more.
This is comfy. This is way too comfortable. I should have brought my New York Times then.
Oh, there you go. Plugging together hard again.
Last day.
Hi, Jessica.
Thanks for
I love the story. Can I see?
Oh yeah, it's hiding right here.
I think I'm going to buy it. And I had to show you this because I
We'll get started.
you can read through it later when you have time, but
Sounds good.
I had to see this sort of in person, so to speak. This is so perfect for so many.
Okay, I think we'll go ahead. Good morning. Welcome to our service from the Unitarian Society of Northampton and Florence. I'm Jenny Furinger, and I am a member of the worship committee and today's worship liaison. If you are new or returning after a time away, we're glad to see you. Please feel free to fill out a blue welcome card, which you can put in the offering plate later in the service. There is an online version that you'll find through the link in the chat. We'll put you on our email list so you can receive information about all that we do. We are very happy to welcome Reverend Dr. Jan Carlsson-Bull to our pulpit this morning. We strive to be a congregation that welcomes people of all ages, races, religious beliefs, backgrounds, sexual orientations, gender identities, and abilities. We belong to the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, and we are guided and inspired by its values and principles. We remember that this part of the Connecticut Valley is the unceded homeland of the Pecumtuck, Nonotuck, and Western Nipmuc peoples. Our values and principles remind us to acknowledge our responsibility to confront the legacies of dispossession and systemic racism that are part of our history, even as we also affirm the legacies that inspire us. A few logistics. We have drawing materials and other ways to occupy hands on the tables in the back. Restrooms are downstairs and are reached through these doors up front. You can either take the stairs or an elevator, which is on this side. Please return the same way. We stream our services online, and there is a camera that looks down on the Great Hall and shows people's heads. If you prefer not to be seen on camera at all, we suggest that you choose one of the 4 or 5 rows in the back of the hall. And now we have a word from Bill Diamond.
Hi, I'm Bill Diamond from the Climate Action Group. Today is the last day of the decarbonization campaign. We've done pretty well, but we have farther we could go. Please consider joining with us to be part of this community effort. You'll see yellow cards like this in the pews, or you can put a check in the plate with decarbonization in the memo line. And did I mention this is the last day? But if you did it tomorrow, it'd be okay too.
We're here to celebrate, to reflect, and to support one another. It is good to be together. And now we'll begin our service. We Unitarian Universalists tend to have an allergy to the word sin. Why not understand it as the ways we humans oppress one another and the planet that we could do a better job of honoring and sharing? Consider the notion that we know anything for sure as an illusion that has led to the worst of our behaviors as humans. In our journey through life as we know it, the meadows and the minefields, might we look to the blessings of hope, not optimism, hope for compassion and grace. This morning we'll stretch, listen, sing, give voice to, and wonder about the options that move through each of us and significantly shape these interesting times we inhabit. I invite everyone to rise in body or spirit for our chalice lighting. We'll remain standing for the first hymn. We light our chalice as a beacon of hope, a sign of our quest for truth and meaning. We light our chalice as a beacon of love in celebration of the life we share together. Just to review this hymn we've done for the past couple of weeks, it's a round, and so we're going to sing it all together first.
this half comes in when that half has sung the first line, and then you'll do it twice. Now, each line repeats. Okay, so good luck, you're on your own.
Everyone, can you hear me okay? Great. Our story this morning is called Neither by Airlie Anderson. And if anybody wants to come closer to see the real live pictures, come on up. They'll also be projected on the screen. And I think this book offers an interesting answer to the questions posed in the hymn that we've been singing this month. And I think it'll be interesting to see if I think everyone will find it relatable. Once upon a time, there were two kinds, this and that. These and those. One or the other. Until, can you all see the until? Honk! What kind are you? I'm both. You can't be both. You must be neither. I'm neither? Neither tried to play this game. You can't play with us. You're not rabbity enough. Neither tried to play that game. You can't play with us. You're not birdie enough. Why don't you find somewhere else? You're not one of us. You're neither. And if you want to join in, neither, neither, neither. And there they go. Looks like they're finding a new land. Where did you come from? Honk. I'm from the land of this and that. but I'm neither, so I'm looking for somewhere else to fit in. This isn't somewhere else, but you will fit in here. Where is here? So many different kinds. The land of all. There's a lot of different games happening. Come play with us. But I'm different from everyone here. I'm neither red nor orange, nor yellow, nor blue. Exactly. Excuse us, we're from the land of this and that, but we don't fit in at home. We're looking for somewhere else. But you said I was neither. You said I should go somewhere else. Well, this isn't somewhere else. This is the land of all, and everyone fits in here. Once upon a time, there were many kinds, this and that, somewhat and whatnot, either, very, sort of, just, rather, a little, neither and both, and all were welcome. Thank you.
Please rise and body your spirit for our hymn number 301, Touch the Earth, Reach the Sky. And now it's time for us to greet one another. Those of you in the Great Hall, please wave. Wave to the camera in the back. If you're on Zoom, you are invited to turn on your videos, wave, and say hello in the chat. It's helpful to switch to gallery view. Anyone online or here in person who is new or newish and would like to, please say hello and tell us where you're from. Hello, Kirby. Kirby says hello. Good morning, everybody. It's great to see you all. Good morning from Melissa. And hi from Diana. Hello, Diana. And a friend of Reverend Jan Carlsson-Bull in Connecticut, Anne Marie. Good morning, Anne Marie. Larry says good morning. It has been good to see everyone. Please remember, if you're on Zoom, to turn off your videos. And now it's time for everyone going to religious education activities to leave us. Please join in humming or singing them out.
Good morning. It is so good to be here. It's been a while since I've been in the sanctuary, although I have known Janet for many, many years through our collegial connections, and it's really delightful to be here this morning in one of the most glorious seasons of the year. Howard Zinn is an American hero for me. As historian, playwright, activist, World War II veteran, the late Howard Zinn is indeed a hero for me and for many of us. Some of you may be familiar with his iconic work, A People's History of the United States. Surely this and all other books authored by him are on what I call the honor list of banned books. I recall one evening on the Boston Common when he and his wife Rosalind were present to join in a protest. I can't even remember what it was about, but it was definitely a protest. It was a modest gathering, and I was so honored to be in the company of the Zinns. This morning, I offer you excerpts from a gem of his legacy that has nurtured me over the years. In this awful world, where the efforts of caring people often pale in comparison to what is being done by those who have power, how do I manage to stay involved and seemingly happy? I am totally confident, not that the world will get better, but that we should not give up the game before all the cards have been played. The metaphor is deliberate. Life is a gamble. Not to play is to foreclose any chance of winning. To play To act is to create at least a possibility of changing the world. There is a tendency to think that what we see in the present moment will continue. We forget how often we have been astonished by the sudden crumbling of institutions, by extraordinary changes in people's thoughts, by unexpected eruptions of rebellion against tyrannies, by the quick collapse of systems of power that seemed invincible. What leaps out from history, the history of the past 100 years, is its utter unpredictability. Among the examples, he offered a revolution to overthrow the Tsar of Russia in that most sluggish of semi-feudal empires. Not only startled the most advanced imperial powers, but took Lenin himself by surprise and sent him rushing by train to Petrograd. The bizarre shifts of World War II, the Nazi-Soviet pact, and the German army rolling through Russia, apparently invincible, causing colossal casualties, being turned back at the gates of Leningrad, on the western edge of Moscow, in the streets of Stalingrad, followed by the defeat of the German army, with Hitler huddled in his Berlin bunker waiting to die. The American war in Indochina, with the US conducting the most brutal bombardment of a tiny peninsula in world history, and yet forced to withdraw. Revolutionary change does not come as one cataclysmic moment. Beware of such moments, but as an endless succession of surprises, moving zigzag toward a more decent society. We don't have to engage in grand, heroic actions to participate in the process of change. Small acts, when multiplied by millions of people, can transform the world. Even when we don't win, there is fun and fulfillment in the fact that we have been involved with other good people in something worthwhile. We need hope. To be hopeful in bad times is not foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives.
I'm Kathy Brown, and this is the Social Justice Minute. On Saturday, October 28th, the Racial Justice Team welcomes members from the Performance Project. The piece they're going to perform, Mother Tongue, is inspired by the experiences of the first-generation ensemble members, their families, their communities, who are from Congo, Tanzania, Bhutan, Nepal, South Sudan, Darfur, Holyoke, and Springfield, Massachusetts. The 90-minute performance weaves together movement, music, dance, and stories, which will be in Arabic, Swahili, Nepali, and English. The piece incorporates themes of language, culture, identity, dysphoria, hypermasculinity, xenophobia, transphobia, racism, and the school-to-prison pipeline. We wanted to thank everyone who's volunteered to cook meals for both the troupe and the stage crew. And we want to encourage people to buy some tickets, which are available through the beacon in the Sunday Times and by scanning the QR code on the flyers, which are located on this table and in the back. And if people are willing to take some flyers, if you're working, bringing them to work, or if you have a favorite coffee shop and you want to put one up there, we would really appreciate it. We're looking forward to this performance.
Our generosity makes everything we do possible, and it helps us support organizations and movements in the greater community. Half of the proceeds of each week's offering support the Society's operating budget, and half are shared outside our walls. The organizations we are currently supporting are listed on the screen. You can mail in a check, donate online, or put your contribution in one of the plates that the ushers will pass. The offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Please join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and God of us all with so many names, so many identities, certainly not this or that. We are glad and grateful to be together this morning in this world absolutely cataclysmic in certainties, in clashing, explosive, horrific certainties. How unkind humankind can be. Yet we also know that we fragile humans can rise with compassion, surprisingly, astonishingly, with amazing grace, and change our ways, understanding that it is not all about me. It is not all about us. However, we place us into the silo of our vision. May we expand our vision and our understanding. And as we do so, might we consider those among us who are hurting, who are in pain of any kind, who are anxious, who are overwhelmed, who have a hard time putting one foot in front of the other, literally or figuratively. And we think of the youngest and the eldest among us. Might we be attuned to any among us who are especially fragile and be there knowing that we can not always fix, but that sometimes presence is enough. So might we be present this morning with one another, attuned to our larger world with great gratitude and all possible resilience as we join in a moment of silence. Amen.
Good morning. I just wanted to say something about this song I'm about to do. Kurt Weill wrote this song in 1933 after he fled Germany and was living in Paris for a couple of years before he came to America. The song is a poem by Roger Fernet, and it's about this utopian island called Ucali, where everything is perfect and you see your long lost loved ones and there's no pain and et cetera, et cetera. And then the final line of each verse is, but it's a dream, a folly, there is no Ucali. And it's a tango for some reason. C'est presque au bout du monde, ma barque vagabonde, aura un gré de l'onde, m'y conduisait un jour, l'île est toute petite, mais la fée qui l'habite, gentiment nous invite à en faire le tour. Ucali, c'est le pays de nos désirs. Ucali, c'est le bonheur, c'est le plaisir. Ucali, c'est la terre où l'on quitte tous les soucis. C'est dans notre nuit comme une éclaircie, l'étoile est construite. C'est Ucali, Ucali, c'est le respect de tous les vues échangées. Ucali, c'est le pays des beaux amours partagés. C'est l'espérance qui est au cœur de tous les humains. La délivrance qui est au cœur de tous les humains. Ucali, c'est le pays de nos désirs. Ucali, c'est le bonheur, c'est le plaisir. Mais c'est un rêve, une folie. Il n'y a pas de Ucali. Et la vie nous entraîne, la santé quotidienne et la prouve humaine, cherchant partout l'oubli, pour quitter la terre, s'y trouver le mystère où nos rêves se terrent dans quelques Ucali. Ucali, c'est le pays de nos désirs. Ucali, bonheur, c'est le plaisir. Yucali, c'est la terre où l'on quitte tous les soucis. C'est dans notre nuit comme une éclaircie, l'étoile qu'on suit. C'est Yucali, Yucali, c'est le pays des beaux amours partagés. Yucali, c'est le respect de toutes les vues échangées. C'est l'espérance qui est au cœur de tous les humains. La délivrance que nous attendons tous pour demain. Yucali, c'est le pays de nos désirs. Yucali, c'est le bonheur, c'est le plaisir. Mais c'est un rêve, une folie. Il n'y a pas de Yucali. Mais c'est un rêve, une folie. Il n'y a pas de Yucali.
Alan, I absolutely love your musical selections this morning. Thank you. What prime time for a trek to northern Vermont. I'm not talking about leaf peeping, although I can't imagine a more breathtaking panorama of color than what we can witness just outside these windows. Well, maybe not outside these windows, but outside these doors. I'm suggesting a trip to St. Johnsbury in the Northeast Kingdom, and specifically to Dog Mountain. How could I forget the welcoming sign to this acreage that is free-range friendly and dotted with playground equipment for the beloved canines in our midst? Dog Mountain embodies the mission of its founder, the late Stephen Huneck. Welcome all creeds, all breeds, no dogmas allowed. So it is, fluffy, short-haired, long-haired, straight-haired, curly, and a colorama of coats almost as captivating as a New England autumn. In the center of Dog Mountain is the Dog Chapel. Stained glass windows hold the images of Huneck's patron saint, his black lab, Sally, with her tongue between her lips like this. Now imagine, a black lab in stained glass. Sacred? Absolutely. Though wait, we're not about absolutes today. Even the chapel's pews are bookended with the carved profiles of golden retrievers. As for joys and concerns, which I know you don't do here, there's a large bulletin board on the wall of the chapel with notes of tribute to beloved doggies who have crossed the proverbial rainbow bridge. It's impossible to read some of those notes without the tears running. Dogma, certainty have no place in this haven. It would be, shall we say, sinful. Consider sin for a moment. Generally, it refers to some kind of offense in the context of religion, specifically creedal religion. We Unitarian Universalists pride ourselves on being without creed. Does that mean we don't believe anything? It drives me crazy when somebody said, oh, you're the people who don't believe anything. No, 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 I don't think so. In the words of Sophia Lyon-Fahs, the iconic 20th century Unitarian Universalist minister and religious educator, some beliefs are rigid, like the body of death, impotent in a changing world. Other beliefs are pliable, like the young sapling ever growing with the upward thrust of life. So committed we are as UUs to the basic goodness of everybody. We can be rigid about what we believe and don't believe. I sense that we have a strong allergy to the very word sin. It doesn't mean we never offend, that we never screw up. One of the traps made for us is the we're so cool syndrome. After all, our beliefs are expansive and pliable. But show me one UU congregation that hasn't had its share of behaving anything but cool. What color to paint the sanctuary? Is so-and-so just the right minister for us? Can we stand behind such a social justice resolution, an actual statement of faith? God forbid, so to speak. And as for the word God, it might just be the most divisive word in our community of faith and doubt. I grew up Presbyterian, reciting the Apostles' Creed without question. If you asked, I could probably recite it this morning, but I'll spare you. It wasn't until midpoint in a long and winding journey, spiritually, psychologically, educationally, and culturally, that I questioned it to the point of becoming Unitarian Universalist. This doesn't mean I've thrown the baby Jesus out with the bathwater. My turn into Unitarian Universalism did not call me to give up every speck of my prior religious identity. This more or less religious community that we share has allowed me to expand my understanding of and appreciation for Christianity with all its riches and flaws, and for that matter, my experiences of Judaism and Islam, and humanism and paganism and other filters for digesting matters intimate and ultimate. Curious George is one of my favorite figures in the literature for children of all ages. It's hard not to claim him as intrinsically Unitarian Universalist. But that would be assuming that ours is the one true faith of curiosity, putting us at the outer edges of a very shaky limb. Curious George is a seeker, and seekers get into trouble because they're troubled enough to act on their curiosity. What, where, who, why, what if, where did we come from? Who are we? What are we? Where are we going? As for Curious George, I wonder if he might simply respond, "You're asking me?" It takes seasoned wisdom, courage, and compassion to walk toward trouble. Not the Curious George variety, but good trouble, the John Lewis variety. The late Honorable John Lewis did this throughout his life, as have many ordinary women and men, risking so much in acts of extraordinary compassion. The late Howard Zinn also walked toward good trouble throughout his life, in both academia and the street. And yes, I recall his presence and humility, and as he and his wife Rosalind joined a protest so many years ago on the Mostyn Common. There were perhaps a scant dozen of us gathered in a far corner of the Common on a chilly autumn evening, protesting US policy, wherever. Shirley Zinn's works, especially A People's History of the United States, are high on the rosters of books banned in states whose political leaders are terrified of what we might learn, counter to stone-hard notions of right and wrong. Lewis and Zinn and others like them give me hope. Consider again a portion of Zinn's essay from which I read earlier. I am totally confident, not that the world will get better, but that we should not give up the game before all the cards have been played. The metaphor is deliberate. Life is a gamble. Not to play is to foreclose any chance of winning. To play, to act, is to create at least the possibility of changing the world. There is a tendency to think that what we see in the present moment will continue. We forget how often we have been astonished by the sudden crumbling of institutions, by extraordinary changes in people's thoughts, by unexpected eruptions of rebellion against tyrannies, by the quick collapse of systems of power that seemed invincible. What leaps out from history of the past 100 years is its utter unpredictability. Back to that gnarly notion of sin. Oh my God, so to speak. The notion of sin is such a lightning rod for the sensibilities of religious liberals, of spiritual progressives, and of any among us who consider ourselves beyond accountability to the rest of life. Maybe it's because sin is so mired in the quicksand of religions that feed on fear. As for original sin, I commonly say that I don't believe in original sin because there's nothing about sin that could possibly be original. In a tradition that not only permits but is grounded in a fluidity of belief, there is ample room for varying perspectives on these matters. Unitarian Universalist theology is a mosaic of traditions and perspectives and beliefs. The adjectives with which we identify ourselves go on and on. Buddhist, humanist, pagan, atheist, humanist, Christian, Jewish, none of the above, all of the above, and as my mother would say, whatever. How many names do we have for the holy? Spirit of love, mystery of being, the ineffable, God, goddess, spirit of life, hey you. Our common ground is relational. It's not an easy faith to practice. Certainty violates our expansiveness of our theology. Certainty gone awry breeds fear. Fear breeds anguish. Fear breeds murder of body and spirit. Fear breeds genocide. The underlying certainty seduces individuals and nations into exactly what we know is foremost in today's news. The sin of certainty is thankfully soluble in the currents of humility, curiosity, awe, and gratitude, of compassion that becomes conscience, and in the wise words of UU theologian Tandeka, love beyond belief. Love beyond belief is fueled by hope. In Zinn's words, we need hope. To be hopeful in bad times is not just foolishly romantic. It is based on the fact that human history is a history not only of cruelty, but also of compassion, sacrifice, courage, kindness. What we choose to emphasize in this complex history will determine our lives. 5 years ago at this time, I was preparing to go to Vietnam. I had joined 9 others in a pilgrimage to Vietnam under the aegis of the nonprofit Soldier's Heart. Its founders, Dr. Ed Tick and Kate Dahlstedt, have served for decades as therapists and healers for scores of veterans who have fought in the American wars in Vietnam, in Iraq and Afghanistan, in Korea, and all the way back to World War II. Some of you may be intimately connected with one or even more of these wars and the aftermath that so commonly leaves the scars that Ed calls moral injury, a term borrowed from the Civil War. While I'm not a combat veteran, I know those scars of moral injury from my own intimate connection with the American war in Vietnam. In February of 1968, my first husband was killed during the Tet Offensive of that war. We were both students at New York City's Union Theological Seminary. I was against the war, as was the majority of the Union community. Russ bought into the domino theory of power in Southeast Asia and felt he couldn't hide behind divinity school status that protected men from the draft. He enlisted. Love isn't known for its logic. We fell in love, we married. The aftermath of his death was a wretched time for me. Within a year, I remarried, then gave birth to 2 beautiful daughters, and after 9 years of a tempestuous marriage, divorced. It was 8 years before I took the big step of remarriage, gaining a 3rd beautiful daughter, technically my stepdaughter. Years have gone by, but the memories were and are vivid. I joined this venture to Vietnam as a pilgrim seeking truth and reconciliation. Tran Dinh Song was our Vietnamese guide. We called him simply Song, and I still write to him by email. Song had fought with the ARVN, the Army of the Republic of Vietnam, the segment of Vietnamese who fought as allies with this country. Another guide along the way was Tom Tien, who was our host at Camp Song, a modest resort on the beauty of an island in the Mekong River. Tom Tien and his wife had fought with the Viet Cong, the forces that resisted the American-supported government in Vietnam and the military forces of this country. I remember Tom Tien. How could I ever forget Tom Tien? Raising his shirt and saying this was done by an M16. He had no side. Tom Tien and Song embrace each other as brothers. I encountered hope so deep, so compelling, that I found myself presenting my peace chalice. Some of you know what our Unitarian Universalist peace chalice looks like in jewelry form. An oval with a dove and an olive branch in its mouth. As I presented my peace chalice to Tom Tien, with my words translated by Song, my husband was killed here. He also killed. For that, I am abundantly sorry and profusely apologize. The flaming chalice is a symbol of my faith. I give you this peace chalice as a symbol of hope and peace. His response, as we were both sobbing, I will wear this my whole life, and when I die, I will give it to my children. Since Tom Tien's neck is about 3 times larger than mine, I'm really glad that the chalice was suspended from quite a long chain. 55 years later, in 1966, in 1966, Song had written a poem that concluded with these words, "And life bleeds out of our bodies. Please smile. Although we stand on opposite firing lines, we still share the common streams of our native land." I'm going to repeat that again. "And life bleeds out of our bodies, please smile. Although we stand on opposite firing lines, we still share the common streams of our native land." While there was no cause for optimism in the 1966 of Vietnam, there were intimations of hope, a call to smile, the recognition that common streams were still flowing. Encountering hope on that November day years later was one of countless epiphanies during my time in this land that now embodies hope realized and still fluid. Hope is not the same as optimism. In the words of US journalist and writer Krista Tippett, hope for me is distinct from idealism or optimism. It has nothing to do with wishful thinking. It is a muscle, a practice, a choice to live open-eyed and wholehearted in the world as it is, and not as we wish it to be. How to live in this world with some modicum of peace in ourselves and with resolution or a path to resolution of fissures in our families, our communities, our nations, concurrent with a full-scale genocide greeting us on the nightly news. Fueled by certainties of right and wrong, just and unjust. Might we draw wisdom from the story read to us earlier by Jessica, the story of neither. Neither, neither, either, either, this or that, she or he. Might we free ourselves from landing on hardened notions of identity, from the perilous hypocrisies of God is on our side, whatever form of God we worship, and from the temptation to grasp at the certainties informing optimism. Might we seek instead to embody the hope alive in compassion and in community grounded in a covenant of love. Out of the box, wondrous and amazing love. Amen and amen. Please join me in singing together Greater Love Our Thanks We Give, number 289, and singing the living tradition. Please stand as you are able and sing out. and now in our going and our staying. May we go not completely at peace, because it is not yet the time for peace, but may we go restless, inspired, compelled by the possibilities of courageous compassion, walking towards good trouble, walking together, because none of us can do it alone. That we go knowing that there is a spark of the sacred in each of us, keeping hope alive and keeping our chalice burning brightly. So may it be, and amen.
This final song is one of the many beautiful songs of hope that arose out of World War II, and probably maybe the most iconic. When night shadows fall, I'll always recall out there across the sea, twilight falling down on some little town. It's fresh in my memory. I hear a mother pray and to her baby say, "Don't cry." This is her lullaby. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover. Tomorrow, just you wait and see. There'll be love and laughter and peace ever after. Tomorrow, when the world is free. The shepherd will tend his sheep, the valley will bloom again, and Jimmy will go to sleep in his own little room again. There'll be bluebirds over the white cliffs of Dover. Tomorrow, just you